Tool tip Tuesday. Today we're going to be using an old die grinder that the gears broke on and a pneumatic palm nailer to make, wait for it, a pneumatic slapper. So yeah, this is how we're going to figure it out. Check it out. Let me start by explaining. You don't need to make this out of new tools. If you want to ball out and spend the money, then you can. But this guy broke and I just kept it in a drawer. And this one is just some old stock I found on Facebook Marketplace. Lowballed them and they said, hey, come pick it up. So now I've got it. Where are we going? How are we doing this? Not too sure, but let's figure it out. So what we're going to be using this grinder for is just the valve and the handle. We're going to be stripping the head off, chucking in the bin, gluing it to, not gluing it, but making a MacGyver of a plan to get it to our palm nailer. And then we're going to have a leaf spring here that just whack, 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 whack. So the reason I'm using this die grinder is for the valve inside so that we can control the air running through easily and just by hand fast. 1, 2, 1, 2, more or less, more or less. That's how we do it. Whereas this palm nailer, we could use this alone. It's just a constant air feed. If we want to adjust it, we're going to have a valve somewhere else. Whereas I want it in my hand and working as I'd like it to actuate. Wham, bam, thank you, man. So this is what we're left with now. Just a housing and a valve that we can actuate there. Plug it in, no air. Looking me nice and pretty. So yeah, happy days, we're halfway there. Now we just need to attach this to this, put a spring with that and some rubber there, and then we're halfway there again. So I'm trying to make as little parts as possible for this machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this big bolt, strip that one off the head, then I'm going to take this threaded section, thread it back into the valve, thread this one on, then thread this section, weld this one to a blanking off plate, thread it on there, and I think I'll be winning. So I cut this one 35mm. I was just planning on welding it flush on top, but I'm going to cut a smaller one so it just sits inside recessed, nice and flush. So we've hole sawed this washer out of 6mm plate now. All we're going to do is weld that in the center there. Nice square, happy days. So I've tacked 2 sides of the circle. All I'm going to do now is flip it over and tack 2 more times just on opposite 90 degrees to that, so that it's tacked in 4 corners of the circle, and then it can't move anywhere, and then I'll weld all around it. boom, we can see that these welds are living a little bit in undercut city, but that doesn't faze me at all. I'm gonna grind the 2 halves away, and then it's gonna be mint. It's gonna be sealed. Happy days. So we're gonna be recessing this in the washer. It's a 11.5 mil. So I'm gonna go with an 11 mil in the cordless. Probably gonna move around a little bit, and it should fit pretty snug. If not, we just get it to fit pretty snug. Happy days. So now all I'm going to do is take this guy, put in there, clamp in the vise, weld it together, and done. Screw it on to the next step. Boom! These two thread together. Then this guy threads sommer net so. Okay. And then we get the air. Nothing's happening because we're not depressing here, but you can see it's starting to take shape and look like some funky MacGyver. So if we go here, we go here, we go here, should, in theory, not nail, then only when we give it air, it's supposed to work. Supposed to, but why it's not, I'm not 100% sure. So I have what I think too much back pressure or too much air coming out the rear. So all I'm going to do is insert this bearing pocket back in. What's that going to change? I don't know. Hopefully something. Hopefully somehow something changes somewhere and then it works. That's the goal. Let's find out. Well, it's not quite what I thought was going to happen. I didn't think I was going to cut it and it was going to fall apart. But that's where we're at. I just realized I'm being a Dumbo. You're going to have to excuse the brilliant English on this one because the terminology is not here with me. So you have air going this way. For some reason, comes out the back. That's how air tools work. This is a whole nother air tool. So same thing, air coming out this way, coming out the top, releasing. So now we're just losing double, and my thought behind this is, hey, there's just not enough pressure to activate the ram now. So I'm gonna block one side and see from there. We're not gonna touch this side. We're gonna modify the other one. Not too sure what's cooking in there. Threading this out. There we go. Keeping the valve, but not allowing it to release air from the back. So we're going to take this off, gooi weg, straight in the bin, throw away, and probably keep that. Maybe I changed my mind. I'm going to go and dig that out there now. And then weld in a piece of aluminium around here to seal that and allow all the air that needs to escape from the back of the hammer and not the valve. Hopefully, I think. On to the next step. Got some 3mm aluminium. Drill, cut, weld, planish. Let's get to it. So we've got this that threads in there. All I'm going to do is cut a donut out of some 3mm plate, recess it in here, around there, whoopee, weld it in, and that should be blanked off and no air coming out there. So we've got the frame, and what we're going to do is just clean that with a burr. I think it's cast aluminium, so clean it as nice as possible, hit it with some acetone, and then weld it and try weld it and see what happens. Now we've stripped the seals out, cleaned it with acetone, and knocked in the little piece of aluminium. So now we're going to buzz it with a weld. Hope it works still. So what do you get when you weld with some 4047 filler rod, 1050 plate, and cast aluminium? You get a turd. A turd that sits about 10 mils high, but hopefully it seals. You know, I'd call it a weld, but I think it's more of a mixture of molten aluminiums. But hit it with a grinder, some paint, be golden. What we're doing now is we're getting the blade for the bottom of the slapper. All I've got here is a stack of leaf springs from the scrapyard, and I'm going to choose where's the flattest, least rusted piece, cut it out. Boom! There's a piece of leaf spring now. Now we can start measuring and cutting and seeing where we're going. So I just wanted to cut it too long first so I can see, hey, is there any deep pit marks? If there is, then I will just cut another section. It's much faster than trying to clean that up and polish it out. So, but it's a pretty nice section. Got lucky on that one. Is it nice? No. Is it presentable? Yeah. Does it look like I tried? A little bit. It is what it is. It's still proof of concept. If it works in the future, hey, I can go buy new tools and make a brand new one. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Okay. What I'm gonna do now is just rinse it out with some water, blow it out like crazy to hopefully get all the dirt and muck and burnt paint and all that stuff out so that we don't stuff up this side. Boys. Making progress, getting there. We're close, but miles away. Majority of the problem solving done for now. Now all I want to do is get a base that this is going to mount to, and then our leaf spring is going to pivot from underneath, captured in some aluminium or plastic or wood sides. Yeah, so all I'm doing is getting a straight edge. Then from there, I can start measuring and seeing and problem solving again. So we're going to have the leaf spring mounted to this plate through some rubber that allows it to pivot. But because it's only one pivot point, we don't want it to move left and right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to oversize this bottom plate that's going to be capturing this one by 2 mils, just so it's got some play so it doesn't bind up, but it's not a loose fit and rattling all over the place. That's the thought and the process and the theory behind it. Yeah. Shabam. Hopefully this makes sense. In my brain, it makes 40% sense. So hopefully it makes 100% sense to you guys. Got this pipe. I'm going to cut it, weld it to this plate like that. Very short. That pipe is going to locate the front of this palm nailer. It's going to have 2 grab screws that grip this. But I need the ram of the palm nailer to stick through long enough to hit the leaf spring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this guard for the ram 8 mils shorter, and the guard for whatever you would call that 8 mils shorter, so that I can ensure it's got at least an 8 mil stroke hitting the leaf spring. That's what it looks like in my head. I don't know if I've verbalized that correctly or if it's even going to work. But stick around and watch me make scrap metal or make a tool to make scrap metal. So I should part this off and face it off in the lathe to make it nice and accurate, but the lathe's identifying as a shelf at the moment, so just going to hit it with the grinder. It'll be good enough. Check with the square, file it a little bit, it'll be golden. So I've just bent, cut and drilled this bracket now that holds the back of the machine, and then we assemble it and start on the pivot point for the leaf spring. Bazinga! Skateboard. That's all we got so far. So we've got on, off, little bit more, on all the way, off. We've got a weld, we've got a grub screw, we've got a guard for the ram, then the ram will come out. There you go. Now, what should happen? Okay, the broken wrist doesn't like that. So I was thinking to myself, how do I test it? So we've got the palm nailer that sits like that, hammers in the front. But now how are we going to get the blade to hammer separate from the frame? What we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole through this base plate and the blade underneath. Then just countersink the blade and put a piece of rubber in between the two so that it's got some flex, so that neither the base plate or the leaf spring is flexing, but the rubber's flexing in between the two and almost pivoting off the rubber. So that's the concept and the idea behind it. So now we have the hole drilled through both parts. Wham, bam. This side's kind of sunk, the side's not. I've drilled it 10.5, 8.5 mil instead of 8 size on, because I wanted to have some play so that when it pivots, it's not chafing on the bolt itself. It's just going chugga, 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 and got some play. That is where we're at. So what we've got to do now is just polish the face. That's going to be doing the actual hammering. And how we do that, go over to the grinder, file, then polish. Sand with a DA, then polish. If you want to see how to refurbish hammers, dollies, make other slappers and interesting tools, go check out our Tooltip Tuesday series. There's a whole bunch of interesting stuff there. Polished, done, shining. Last thing, build some guards, slap the paint on, and she's gonna be running. So we've got the blade now, ready, hammering. Let me show you a 1, 2. But the problem is the blade can move left to right. So my initial plan was have 2 guards on the side, but I don't like that idea, because then if I go at an angle, those guards can edge up panel and just leave marks. So then Jean on the camera came up with a great idea. Why don't we have a pin on the leaf spring coming through the top here? That way you can never edge it unless you take this off, turn it upside down and hit your panel with it. And that's probably not going to happen. So we're going to give that a go and see how it works. So I did this all backwards and I faced off it and made a nice polished, straight, filed, but now I'm going to weld on it, so it's going to pull like crazy. So I'm going to try clamp it extremely tight in the vise and avoid it from pulling too much. In the future, I know I'm going to have to reface it, but just try to get it done, proof of concept, see if it works, test it a little bit, then face it off again. So we got one click, another, and now the blade can't jive left and right. Mint, test it out with some aluminium, slap some paint on it, call it a pneumatic slapper. Hey. Okie dokie, here we have a flat piece of aluminium, slapper, steel dolly to try and stretch from the back, and let's do the dance. Let's do the dance. Hey. Does it hammer? Yeah, a couple times. Does it hammer real hard? Yeah, too hard for aluminium. That'll be absolutely golden on steel. But all I have to do is the ram, just shorten that a little bit. I think it's going to hit a little bit less, and then it's going to be beautiful to clean welds in aluminium. Now, if you want to pump shape into something, heck, you don't have to block your panel. You can just planish it. But I could even tighten this rear screw and see what that does. Now it's fine tweaking, adjustments here, there, everywhere to get it exactly how you want. But proof of concept, it works. I think if I tighten this, it'll actually be perfect. Yeah. I'm gonna call this arthritis. So, pneumatic slapper, planishing hammer, vibe, school, college was a success. I passed first grade and need ideas for version 2. Version 1, happy days, works, great. But I'd like more control. So if anybody has any ideas on how to improve this in the future, version 2, please leave them in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, all that goodness. Also, let me give you a quick breakdown on how this works. Air comes in, blanked off the back, air comes out here, it's a regular palm nailer, and all it does is nail this leaf spring. That leaf spring, what's holding it in place is just one M8 cap screw that's pivoting off some leather straps, just 2 pieces of 5mm leather. I shortened the ram and I shortened the guard. Cut off the magnet that would hold your nail in place usually. Yeah, then just took a regular air fitting, welded it to the top of what was a die grinder, pulled out everything from the die grinder except the valve. All I'm using is the valve of that. And the palm nailer, haven't did a thing to it, besides shortening the ram and the guard. Internals, stock, standard, lovely. Yeah, that's what we got. Hey, hey.